The Pistons are the basketball champions of the world.
Detroit, it's time. It's playoff time, Detroit. Let's go to work.
Shout out Detroit. I got to buff up, you know what I'm saying? Detroit, I'm all the way in. Detroit Pistons, I'm all the way in. Let's do it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Buffs On Podcast. We are the best POD in the 313. Happy Lions opening night. We are hours away from the Lions kicking off their season. But today, we got Piston season previews coming. We divided the squad up into three sections, the guards, the wings, and the bigs. And we're going to go over the guards today. We got Cade, we got Ivey, we got Sasser, and we got Beasley. We left Wendell Moore off of this list. If you want a Wendell Moore video, let us know. We will come out with that. But for now, we got the whole squad here. By popular demand, I think we should just start with some dude named Cade Cunningham. Connie, talk to us about Cade Cunningham and what you think his season should look like.
Well, what we should see out of this season is improvement, right? Like, we all know Cade Cunningham is a great player on this team, but last year we talked about it all year. The front office let him down, the coaching staff let him down, the lack of shooting around him let him down. And so from what I'm thinking about Cade Cunningham, I'm thinking about two things. I'm thinking about an adjustment in shot profile, and I'm thinking about an increase in assists. An increase in assists, obviously, because you're just passing the better shooters. I think the guys he's going to kick to when he drives and kicks are just going to hit three-pointers and hit shots at a higher rate than the guys last year. But something important that I think about is shot profile. Cade took like a lot of mid-rangers last season. And that's okay because he's a very talented, very skilled mid-range shooter. He was 50% from 10 to 14, 49% from 15 to 19. And, those are good numbers. But I think they are a byproduct of when he beats his man, when he gets an advantage, there's two guys waiting for him in the paint. And so he takes the mid-ranger, which he's good at, over a shot from 5 to 9 or less than 5 feet, like getting a layup. And you compare that to a guy like, I was just looking at guys who had like similar shot total attempts last year as Cade, and one of those guys was Donovan Mitchell. And Donovan Mitchell took a crazy greater amount right at the rim, so less than 5 feet, and behind the three-point line, and took less in that mid-range space. Now, he didn't come from the greatest spacing area ever either, but Davey Bickerstaff did do some stuff with staggering with that team. So what I want to see this year from Cade is basically the same stuff he's been doing, but in an offense that's more designed for him to succeed. So that's more assists just to guys being better players around him, and more shots at the rim and more shots at three with a slight decline in mid-range. Just for the numbers. I'm not a traditional numbers guy. I don't love just like eliminate the mid-range to, make the shot profile look good for ultimate efficiency. But there is more something like of a more spaced floor, just resulting in more layups and easier shots for this guy to like really show some stuff next season, which I think he will.
Yeah, Cade is the center of this team, and we're going to need him to be more efficient and hopefully with an offense that is more constructed for his abilities will help with that. Valley, any thoughts on how you think Cade should perform this upcoming season?
Yeah, I definitely have some thoughts, but I do want to touch on what Connie's like relation to the shot attempts that Donovan Mitchell had. And I talked about that briefly when that that 5-second clip of Cade shooting a three-pointer. But we were talking about getting threes up, and I told Gabe, like, I think Bickerstaff's going to push him to shoot 8, 9, 10 threes per game, just sole attempt. That's something I'd love to see. I think he has that range. I think he has that ability to be a consistent three-point threat, and I think that's really where it's at because I think he has that ability to get to the rim. We've seen that. He's unstoppable getting to the rim, especially as a point guard, stronger and bigger than other point guards, but that big like question mark has been the lack of spacing and where the front office and coaching has kind of let him down. We won't dive into that, but what we can dive into is the positives that we can line up a team, multiple teams with much more spacing around him, still while having that vertical lob threat, having those shooters in the corner, bringing back Simone, obviously signing Timmy and Beasley as well, who we'll get into later. But I mean, we've touched on it so much. I think that flexibility of him having spacing now is really going to allow him to not eliminate the mid-range from his game, but either get right to that rim, like Connie's what you're saying, or get those threes up, which are higher percentage shots. In terms of like points, obviously from three, but he's better at getting to the rim. He's great on his right or his left. He can get to.
We know he can hit that mid range. I think with like a little better spacing and like the second and third defender not right behind his primary guy waiting for him, Cade Cunningham is going to put some defenders in absolute hell this season.
I absolutely, and that's what I'm thinking. And I think one thing that I'm most like excited for from that is with spacing that 2-man game with Duren. Longtime substitute of the pod, Mike Brooks called me last night, and that's one of the things we talked about the most is that potential of the 2-man game with spacing of Duren and Cade, because I think Cade is going to have a monstrous year. I think he's going to take serious leaps, and I think he's not even going to be like a low key all-star. I think he's going to be in the all-star game, guys. But I think that 2-man game is going to excel him, and it's going to excel Duren. And like you said, Connie, I think he's going to put defenders in hell, and Duren's only going to help him do that as well.
All right, I agree. And I also think it's interesting to note that somebody that has similar of a shot profile is a guy that JB Bickerstaff coached last season. So it may not be.
I'm sorry. He had a very different shot profile.
Different
Total amount of shots.
Okay, I got you.
He was much more spaced out where he was getting even him out to the mid range. Where Donovan Mitchell's like he's getting layups, he's getting 3-pointers, and he's sprinkling in mid rangers.
Mm-hmm. I mean, mid ranges aren't always Donovan Mitchell's game either. He's much better from the arc and inside too. So Cade's bread and butter is the mid range. So it will be interesting to see how JB Bickerstaff gets him his shots. And like you said, with the spacing, we've seen Cade and Duren just have one of the best pick and roll games in the game, and it's going to continue to develop this year. Cade snaking a screen with only having one man to beat, Duren rolling and spacing all around him. It's going to be fun to watch.
Really quick. Sorry, I just think from a statistical point of view, when you're looking at total points and total assists, I think those numbers are going to skyrocket for Cade Cunningham. And I did have one thing I wanted to say as well, which it will be great for him in his all-star push and for representation of Detroit, I think, but also one thing I think we have huge potential for is the last thing I want to say. With that Cade Duren pick and roll, if there is that spacing and we see how calm and composed Cade is in the pick and roll, that Gortat screen, you guys know what I'm talking about?
I love
Duren has an absolute
Detroit fans may know it better as the highway screen. Him and Isaiah Stewart used to do it a lot in Cade's rookie year.
So like with the spacing and with Duren, it was just like, I don't know if you guys have seen him. He looks like an absolute unit right now. I saw him doing some pull-ups. Holy cow. But I think that has a lot of potential. Just emphasizing that pick and roll and like how it's going to contribute to him statistically.
For sure. And before we kick it back to Connie to close out the Cade season preview, let's head over to Gabe. Gabe, what are you expecting from Cade this year?
The only thing I disagree on you guys with is the assist. He averaged 7.5 last year, which is a lot. It's just I think it's hard to get more than that when he was like the guy touching the ball every single possession, doing everything. I would not be surprised if that stays even or climbs down, but with less turnovers. I think that's the important thing. I really want to see the turnover number go down this year, either from those stupid ones where he just like holds it a little too long, or he tries these like passes that aren't quite there. And that's, we said a lot of time, is that him not being able to read quick enough, or is it the terrible spacing? I think we all agree it's more the spacing. And then last thing, of course, the threes. I agree with. I want to see him take a lot more threes, and I think he can take more. Is having like a little like floater game, little dinkers, dumpers, because there like probably won't be that guy so high up on him. He'll probably be more at the rim, like a Gobert or Evan Mobley, and just having that little push shot if the big is kind of in the in between where the lob is not on. And Cade struggled with that these past seasons. I remember mentioning that a few times. And he has the touch. Either hand, I'd like to see a little, just like a little 8-foot little push shot. Him and Jalen Duren as well, actually. So I think that would really be helpful. And aside from that, you guys have any like numbers things you think Cade's gonna hit? Like he averaged 23 last season. How high realistically you think he's gonna average? I could see like, I don't know, 26. Is that being unrealistic?
No, I was gonna say 25. So 26.
I was thinking like high 20s, like 26 to 28.
Okay.
I have been having that thought. Like, what if he makes the jump to just being like just the insane numbers guy? But I'm gonna keep it a little. Dude, I'm gonna go similar point numbers, but I'm thinking double-digit assists or close to it this season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I fully understand where you're coming from that with Gabe, but like at the same time, like he'd kick out to Killian Hayes, he'd kick out to
Yeah,
To
I
that's,
don't
Mezzi
know,
that's,
like
Metsu.
that's
Isaiah Stewart was probably our best shooter, but that was like the best case scenario was a kick out to Beef Stew, who already like didn't gain much like defensive respect from the opposition. So I just think like I fully understand. I could see what you're saying, Gabe. That's why I think the assists are gonna stay about the same because I think there'll be less opportunities for assists, but the assist ratio is just gonna be higher just because better players are gonna make more shots. Other than the roster we had last season. So give me like a 27-8 kind of season. I think he's gonna take a huge leap, guys. I think he's gonna be an all-star.
shit, man.
Are, are we sticking that claim? Are we saying Cade All-Star? Because
I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
I'm in
think I've
that
said
boat
it
as
every
well.
year he's
Cade
gonna
is an
leak after
All-Star
his
this
first
I
year.
year.
think the stats are going to be variable. I think stats are tough to predict because he's so good at so many different things, and he could be used in so different ways with this team. But end result, All-Star season, Cade Cunningham, you're 4.
Cade Cunningham definitely has a lot to shoulder this season. He'll have people like Hardaway Jr. and the guy we'll talk about later, Beasley, to kick out to instead of Malachi Flynn and Chimezi Metu. But Connie, any other notes to wrap up this Cade season preview before we move on to Jaden Ivey?
Get ready.
Get ready.
Man. I know hopes are down for this Pistons team, but if I know one thing, it's that Cade Cunningham can play basketball. So get ready.
I love it. I love it. So we're gonna move in to segment 2. Next, we're gonna move into a guy who's gonna play a pivotal role on this team. A guy that JB Bickerstaff has said he wants to stagger with Cade throughout the entire game. A guy that took a major step back this last season, partly due to Monty Williams and partly due to production, but it's Jaden Ivey. Jaden Ivey last year averaged, first, he played 77 games, averaged 15.4 points, 3.4 rebounds, 3.8 assists. He was 42.9% from the field and 33.6% from deep. Free throw line, 74.9%, which I don't know. I mean, for a guy that's going to get fouled a lot, I'd like to see that a little higher. And his effective field goal percentage was 49.2. And thanks to our numbers guy, Connie, he tells me that is 133rd ranked in the league. I'm curious to see what happens with Jaden Ivey this year. We've seen the pictures out there of him gaining muscle. So hopefully that play. I mean, he bulked up last offseason too. So it's going to be interesting to see can he start to knock down that 3-point shot at an effective clip. And the big question that we've all had ever since last season is the defense. Is he going to be able to be a felt defensively? Because if he's going to be out there with Cade and I don't know, maybe Malik Beasley, maybe Noah Sar Thompson, and who knows if Jalen Duren takes a leap with his rim protection. But Jaden Ivey is going to need to step up. Gabe, you're first on my screen and didn't really get a chance to talk a lot in the Cade segment. So tell me what you want to see from Jaden Ivey this upcoming season.
I think the main thing, and I think we all agree, is we want to see some good basketball from Jaden Ivey.
Mm-hmm.
He's had all the flashes. He's had all the athletic plays. He needs to be consistent defensively. He needs to be consistent offensively, and actually be useful on the court over a consistent amount of games. And I think the best way to do that is to slow down on defense and just stay in front of his man more and not to do those stupid reach fouls that he loves to do. And on offense is just calm down and not force shots. I think it'll be much more important now, especially if Cade is still the guy running the show and we have actual spacing around him. There's no reason for him to take those like mid-range shots. There's no reason for him to pull those early threes. Not to say I don't want him taking those threes, because like we talked about with Cade, if you have Mitchell and Garland there in Cleveland, they're both hoisting threes, but it was always at a time where, you're not going to get a better shot than, let's say, an Ivy pull-up three. And then it's the other thing, like the conversation I think still to be had is whether he's starting or not. I'm still in the camp that he is starting, but after doing my Malik Beasley research, I'm a little more in the Malik Beasley train. But like you said, the staggering, super important just to have that ball handler on the court at all times. And the last thing I was gonna say, is if he's not like at expectations, I guess, I think he is of all the like decent players on our team, he's the most likely to be traded. I just think that's in his cards. Not to say I think or I want him to be traded, but he's like the redundant piece, right? If you have Cade and you have, you need a solid two guard. You can't have Ivey from last year. But I have high hopes for him. I think he is, like we said in an earlier pod with Vincent doing the shooting work. I think he is the number one like culprit there, and he's going to be with him the most. So I'm really excited to watch him play and to see how the rotation ends up shuffling up.
The rotation is obviously still a huge question mark, and yeah, that is another discussion to be had. Is he starting or not? But that's for another day, or maybe even the end of the segment. We'll see what we have time for. But Valley, what are you looking for from Jaden Ivey?
I think Gabe was spot on the money with saying consistency, and that's on both ends of the floor. But like I know we've been doing this a lot, like comparing our current roster to Bickerstaff squad last year and how we used Garland and Mitchell. And I see a lot of like similarities in that like Garland role that Ivey could have. Because I think just logistically he realistically has to start at least for the start of the season. When you look at our roster and my guy Marcus Sasser later, such a big question is if he can be the backup point guard. If he can't, does Ivey move down? We can dive into this more in terms of the rotations, but I think what I'm looking for Ivey is just overall consistency. He absolutely has that it factor in him. Like he has elite athleticism, not compared to the average human, but compared to the NBA. I think he has a case for fastest player in the NBA. I don't know how you define athleticism, but I think he has a case for most athletic player in the NBA. And I think no matter what, like if you have that with some competent basketball abilities, not like a Jeremy Evans or something, I think you have a role in this league. And I think Ivey does certainly have a role, but the question is, can it be as a starter or not? Connie, I see you saying Jeremy Evans. The highlight you're gonna see is him blocking a shot and having a slam dunk on the other end. I believe against the Clippers, and he played for the Utah Jazz. Jeremy Evans. Um, but yeah, consistency on the money. We all know when we need to say 3-point shot needs to be down. One thing I'm not fully buying into yet is that bulking he did over the offseason. Like that photo came out like a month after the offseason, I feel like. And I feel like you ain't making gains like that just yet. I think that comes over time. But like one specific thing I'd really like to see other than just general consistency is how he plays with Cade Cunningham. I mean, that's been the question ever since we drafted Cade Cunningham. At first, at least for me and Alan, it was how's he going to fit with Killian? Then it was how's he going to fit with Jaden Ivey? So many questions about that, and it's been the same question every single year, and that's why I gave you hinted at if there is a trade, then maybe it is Ivey in one of these future years. Again, I really would hope not. I thoroughly believe in Ivey. He's such a hard worker, which is why I'm always going to believe in him and figure out that consistency. Really has that Mamba mentality. We've heard so many stories about that, but consistency and playing off of Cade Cunningham or playing with Cade Cunningham is what I'll be looking out for this season.
First in the gym, last out. We've heard it, like you said, countless times. Connie, your hopes for Jaden Ivey this upcoming year?
Real quick, let's appreciate the Jeremy Evans. I watch a lot of NBA basketball for the past decade. I'm gonna be real with you, man. I didn't know who this guy was.
I'm not gonna lie. I know him for the most part for that one ridiculous play. I was gonna say Tony Mitchell if you Pistons fans remember Tony Mitchell.
But appreciate the pull, guys. Appreciate the pull on Jeremy Evans. That's a good one. As far as Jaden Ivey, I don't want to cause beef on this pod, but I disagree with Gabe. He said he wants him to be like more consistent and just stay in front of his guy on defense. Jaden Ivey, I want to see this man. Valley said it, possibly most athletic player in the NBA, probably better chance of being just like the fastest guy in the NBA. Cause ruckus. I want to see ruckus, man. I don't want to. I mean, like not chucking shots, like playing within the offense, but like use the elite physical tools that this man possesses to just muck some stuff up.
Are you saying he should have watched some TJ McConnell tape?
Oh my God! I think everybody on this team should watch TJ McConnell tape. Anybody that wants to be a small point guard, watch TJ McConnell tape. But like
Marcus Sasser,
I feel like really small bursts last year where he would make like some like really high energy defensive plays, and it would be like once or twice a game. And like, Does you guys remember what you guys know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That. Use the gifts and the skills he has to just make it uncomfortable to play against him and to play against this team. And then use it on offense to like find buckets. But yeah. I've said it before. We said it in the Jalen Duren, Jaden Ivey conversation. This is a do or die year right here for Jaden Ivey. And if it's the same as last year, like Gabe said, I don't think a lot of Pistons fans would be upset about seeing him leave if it's another year the same as last year. But if it's who we all think he can be, the sky's the limit.
Question and a follow-up to that, though. You say you just wanted to like play to his natural strength, which is straight up just going downhill and attacking.
Defensively, I think he should play to his natural strength. I think he should be a havoc causer rather than like a fucking play 24 seconds of solid defense type guy.
Okay.
He gets that. That's it.
And my question was like, what if he just goes down here? Like, what if he ends up shooting like 51% from the field, but like 27 from deep? Are you taking that?
It's tough to say. I want to say no because it's bad, but like if he's shooting 51%, 27 from deep, how many threes are getting up? And it's like, how does it look? Like, what's the end result? Like the basketball, as much as we want to talk about stats, it is a combination of things that makes basketball, right? Like Draymond Green, fucking 29% from three, he's on the court. It's a beautiful game, right? So it's like, there's more to basketball than just like the shooting percentages, but like if it works, if it's within the offense, if he's a positive player, then I'll take those numbers. But like, yeah, like I want him to use his elite gift and make more.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like to go back to what Valley said towards the beginning of the offseason, like, do we want to trade Jaden Ivey for Peyton Pritchard still? Valley, is this still on your mind?
No, because I like Ivy too much.
Exactly, and I don't think any of us want to see him go because he's a good guy.
Yeah, we're not here to have good. Like, I mean, we're here to have good guys, but we're here to win basketball games.
Exactly. So
I still say no, but I think that's like if there's a potential trade, like I wouldn't be the most upset in the world, but I do love Ivy as a person, and with the work ethic he has, it's really easy.
Yeah. As we wrap up this segment, let's talk about a statistic that we all think that Jaden Ivey needs to improve on. I'm going to take three-pointers. I need to see it at least at 37, 38% if we're going to even talk about giving him a rookie extension next offseason.
I'll take turnovers per game.
Good one. Gabe?
What about him? Just lower?
Yeah. I don't think you want him higher. You want him higher?
I think he still has it's crazy to say, but I think he has the possibility to be the best player on this team if everything just clicks. So I just want to see his scoring go up. And I think with that comes efficiency because he's not going to increase his scoring by being less efficient. So I'll say increase scoring. Yeah.
Connie actually posed that question during the season. Is Jaden Ivey the best guard on this team? But Connie, what do you want to see numbers-wise Jaden Ivey jump?
You mentioned it, 133rd effective field goal percentage. Let's get top Honda.
Let's get top Honda. I love it. Jaden Ivey, you know what you got to do. Go out and do it. You always say God is great. Show us what you can do on the court, and I think we'll all be on your side. Let's move into segment 3. We're moving into segment 3 now. We're going to talk about a new addition to this Pistons squad, a guy that's going to add spacing to the floor, Malik Beasley. Gabe, what do you got on Beasley?
So I think we all know Beasley last year started every game except for, I want to say, the last 2 on Milwaukee. He averaged 11 points a game. Every other stat is pretty negligible. He shot 7 threes a game at over 41%, which is a big plus for us. And to start on like a championship contender, even though everyone knew they weren't going to be there, but to start on that kind of team, I think we may be undervaluing if he can start on the worst team in the league, But yeah, he's always been a consistent shooter. He's had 20-point seasons basically, always like a 40% 3-point shooter. just really consistent. And the discourse last year was that he can't hold up defensively, especially next to Dame. I think with our team, theoretically, with like the size Cade has and Asar and Stu and stuff, that wouldn't be as bad. And he's also said in some interviews that he really wants to focus on that end of the floor more. So yeah, I'm expecting much of the same. He averaged 11.3 last season. Like I said, I could see it being around the same this year. Maybe like 10 points a game, shooting like 42% from three. Whether he's starting or not, he's gonna have a role on this team. And he's gonna get shots up and make some shots. That's really all there is to his game, and he does it well.
Not much more to add on that, but yeah, I want to see at least one thug shake a week, I think, from Malik Beasley. Valley, what do you got on Malik?
I don't know. What I'm expecting from him is just a high volume number of 3-pointers and a pretty good return rate. Like I don't want him shooting inside that arc. I don't have the numbers of where his shots came from in Milwaukee. I'm assuming the vast majority of them were threes, but I really don't want him to do anything else on this roster.
I can answer that real quick if you want.
Yeah,
he took 6.9 threes and 2.3 2-point attempts.
All right, let me see like 1.3 2-point attempts. That's when your foot's on the line or a wide open layup. But I'm just expecting him to come in and do what he's been like touted to do his whole NBA career, and that's shoot the basketball. He's a guy who I like. As soon as he touches it, like off the pass, the catch and shoot, like I want it to be going up right away. I don't care how much defense is on him. I just want that pull. You know, I feel like we haven't had a player with like a gravitational pull on the 3-point line for years, man. Like since like Luke Kennard or something. I feel like we haven't had that consistent of a threat from deep. I mean, shout out to Simone Fontecchio. I think he can do that too. But like seriously, having such a shooter, and along with Timmy, I think it's a real blessing to this organization. I think that's something we've been deprived of for so freaking long, and I think he's just gonna come in and provide exactly what we need. And really quick, is he a Michigan man? He's not, right?
He went to Florida State.
He did, but his mom grew up, I think, on the west side of 8 Mile, so he does have ties here.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, so gravitational pull to the arc is what he was brought in to do. Connie, what do you got to add, if anything, on Malik Beasley?
Hey, make threes and make specific kinds of threes. You guys watch Family Guy?
Yeah.
There's a cutaway gag that you might recognize. 4-3.
4-3.
That's good stuff right there.
He spams the corner three, and it's very 4-3.
I got a thing on that on the page right now. So go check that out if you haven't already.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, 4-3. That's so good.
Left corner three, 46.8% on 94 attempts. Right corner three, 46.6% on 131 attempts. That's all I gotta say, man. This guy's gonna be in the corner. He's gonna catch and shoot. He's gonna make some shots. I'm looking forward to seeing Malik Beasley.
As long as he knocks down the shots, I don't think any of us are gonna have a complaint. We got a little time on this segment, so I pose 2 questions to you guys. Number 1, what are you expecting his 3-point percentage to be this season? And number 2, is he gone at the trade deadline? So I'm gonna say 45 from 3, and yes, he's gone at the deadline.
45.
45 is wild.
So
I gotta have high hopes first to drop him.
His career high for a season is last year when he shot 41.3%, and that was next to Dame and Giannis.
Let me have my moment, man. Come on.
I'm gonna say 41%, same as last year.
Yeah, realistically, I'd say 42, 43. But if I'm dreaming, I'll say 45.
He is on the 1-year contract, but I do think we're going to be relatively competitive. And we don't have many other people of his caliber at what he does in his position. So I think he's going to be on the team because I think Gores realizes we need to have a decent team for, every once in a while.
Fair. That's fair. Valley?
39.9%.
Oh, we're dropping?
And yes, he'll be on the team.
Okay. Connie?
40, and he's sticking around.
All right, so I'm the outlier here at 45, and he's gone. So y'all making me look bad. But I'll pass it back to Gabe to close us out on Malik Beasley.
He made the All-Star weekend last year in the 3-point contest. Are we seeing a repeat in that, or is it now that he's on the Pistons, he will not get consideration?
He's
Man, I
not
sure
gonna
hope
get
so.
consideration.
We have
How bad the team is.
It doesn't matter. He's in
represent
Detroit.
us at the All-Star event. Outside of Blake Griffin at the All-Star game, I'm saying I think it was Andre Drummond at the dunk contest where he was horrible. So I'd love to see some representation for us in the All-Star weekend.
Well, I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll have a Star Thompson in the dunk contest this year.
That would be so awesome, man.
That would be. But where is the All-Star game this year?
I want to say Golden State. Right?
That sounds right. All right, yeah, it's on the West Coast. Yeah, no one from Detroit's going there. It's gonna be the Steph Curry show. I mean, I'm looking forward to the Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. They can't do the Steph Klay. Who did it with Steph last year? Who did the girl from the WNBA? Her name's slipping my mind right now.
UNESCO.
Yeah, Serena UNESCO. So her and Caitlin Clark versus Steph and Klay, which would be even more fun because Clay's not in Golden State anymore. But I think that's going to steal the show. No Pistons will be there. Any other notes on Malik Beasley before we move on to Marcus Sasser? All right, let's move into segment 4. The last guy here in segment 4 we got is a guy that is coming into his sophomore season. He has a documentary out on the Pistons YouTube channel. If you want to go check it out, go check it out. If not, you're not missing much. But Valley, talk to us about Marcus Sasser.
Yeah, Marcus Sasser got in trouble a little at times during his rookie year. Really streaky guy. Over his rookie year, averaged 8 points, 1.8 rebounds, 3.3 assists, 42% from the field, 37.5 from deep. Pretty good on paper. But I think a big thing is that streakiness. We see the lows and we see the highs. Specifically those highs that game in Milwaukee where Marcus Sasser was unconscious, seemed to keep him really confident for a while. But then he goes to these periods of time of barely scoring the ball, and with his shot tendency where he likes to really step back a lot of the time, I think that just is a recipe for disaster. But just based off of his rookie year, ignoring this summer, I had a lot of optimism for him because when you're looking at our roster, he's more than likely the backup point guard. There's not another point guard on the roster if we're starting Ivey and Cade together. And yes, they'll stagger, but you need a backup point guard. And on paper, that's him. But then you look at his summer league stats where he averaged 12 points a game, 4 rebounds, 5 assists on 33% shooting and 25% shooting from deep. Yeah, it's a relatively small sample size, but what would have further continued my optimism is to see him just bully that. Like we saw KCP when he was a Piston absolutely tear up the summer league. I would honestly was hoping for 20, 25 a game in this summer league, just cooking players. But I think I saw a lot of the same things where he has that hesitancy a lot, where he keeps stepping back and waiting for that shot. And that's been his game throughout his whole career, going back to his colleges as well as that step back three. But I'm just not sold, and I'm at the point where the question for me is Sasser good enough to be the backup point guard for an 82-game season? If not, do we need to add another veteran point guard on this roster? Because at the moment in time, I do think we do. I don't think we have enough leadership and veteran experience in the guard position. Cade, Ivey, Sasser, obviously also young. Sasser was a 4-year player, but which kind of goes into my point again of why'd you have such a poor summer league? I was really hoping he would dominate that summer league. But the streakiness and the confidence, I think, is just a major concern for me. I have some more of my expectations, but what do you guys think about Sasser?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. He didn't prove anything new past his rookie season this year. We all kind of hoped he'd be too good for that league. That was not true. Yeah, the question of whether he's good enough to be a backup point guard, is he good enough to be in the NBA period? I think especially with this new regime, they're gonna have no problem, cutting him loose if he's not at that level. And I think we could just see him be out and, like you said, Valley, I don't know, point guard X come into the team like a Tyus Jones or, that type of player. I do hope he just starts chucking up those threes, like you said. He's a good shooter. He's streaky, but he's a good shooter. I don't think he's a point guard. I think he's more of a small two guard, which is why I think the Ivy staggering would be good. But yeah, that's really all for me.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I don't think he's a point guard. I think he is a two guard. I just want to see him come in. I just want to see him come in and shoot. Just like don't hesitate. Go to your spot, get to your spot and shoot. And hopefully the results will soon follow. I know Connie, you're not the biggest Marcus Sasser supporter and you got a little to say, so just whatever you got, throw it out there.
I don't want to just hate for hate's sake. I think in the summer league they were definitely trying to make him a point guard, and it just didn't look the best. I mean, his strong suit I think is definitely like getting the bucket, shooting the shot, and he had some like very nice streaks last year, but I don't know, small, like ball handling, shooting too, tough. It's just a tough niche to fill. Like it's just a tough niche to fill, and unless he shows some things in either a variety of like even becoming a better shooter or being able to do some stuff with the ball in his hand, you know, there's guys that played on the Pistons last year that might not be NBA players.
Fair enough. I posed one question. I'm pretty sure we're all going to have the same answer. If you had to choose probably a third tertiary type ball handler guy, are you guys taking Asar Thompson or Marcus Sasser?
I'm still taking Marcus Sasser.
Okay.
Wait, sorry. Repeat, as a ball handler guy?
Yeah, if you had needed a third guy, like super rare, not that often. It's Cade, it's Ivy most of the time, but after that, who are you taking, Asar Thompson or Marcus Sasser?
Hardaway Jr. Asar Thompson.
Yeah, same.
That's who I would take.
Because he has such a unique mind and like the way that he plays basketball. I'd like to see what he can do.
And there are lots of passes if you go and look at highlights from last year that you're like, okay, he can make those passes. They're slick passes. So I would still say Asar Thompson. But I kick it back to you, Valley, to close out this Marcus Sasser segment before we move into our final segment.
And I would like to take this moment to shout out my good friend Anvit Rao. He is the #1 Marcus Sasser fan. He owns a Marcus Sasser jersey. He went to Penn and he went to the game in Philly against Pistons Sixers in Philly and repped his jersey and got a lot of criticism for it for some reason. But shout out to Anvit, big Pistons fan, huge Lions fan. Reps the pod, reps Marcus Sasser. But going into my expectations from the season, like the needs of what he needs to do, 3-point volume, 3.8 attempts per game from deep last season, not enough. Learn to catch and shoot. You can't just be on these step backs, you know. Consistency, confidence, be a spark off the bench, 8 to 12 points per game, establish yourself as a bench player.
I love it. There's that word again, confidence. We heard it so many years with Killian Hayes. The word returns for Marcus Sasser. We're going to move into our final.
That's not a good sign.
No, it is not. At least Killian Hayes could pass the basketball. But we're going to move into our final segment here with a round of Guess That Piston, and then we'll close out the show. We're back with segment 5 now. Valley's got his Piston. We're playing Guess That Piston. Simple rules. The three of us, that is, in this case, me, Gabe, and Connie, have 10 total questions to try to get yes or no questions to try to get closer to that guess. I'll pass it over to Connie or Gabe if you guys want to take the first question.
White?
Huh?
Is he white?
We got to eliminate that question. It's pretty good.
I think so.
That's a great question when it comes to the NBA. Answer it.
Yes, he is.
There we go. Significantly.
Oh, wait. Did Valley already say his name earlier in the pod? Quite possibly. Did he play for Stan Van Gundy?
No, he did not.
Ooh, okay. I really worded that badly. That was only narrowed down like one coach.
Is he a guard?
He is not a guard.
You're big.
He's a big.
Is he a shooter?
Yeah, he's a shooter.
I know.
I know who it is too. You can hear the disappointment in Valley's face when he answered.
Was he exclusively a bench player?
I do think he snuck his way into the starting lineup a few times. I can check that if you want, but for the most part, yes, bench player.
Actually, I have two guesses. Neither of them might be right, actually.
Love to hear it.
Did he play post Gundy?
One more time.
Post Stan Van?
He did play post Stan Van.
Okay.
That's 7
We
questions.
got a big white shooter who played post Stan Van.
and primarily on the bench.
My guess was gonna be Josh Harrelson, but he played Priest and then.
Yeah, that's a crazy name.
I got a stupid question, but it's not going to help anything, so I'm not going to use it yet.
Go ahead.
Does he wear a headband?
I think so. Let me confirm with you. I do believe he does.
All right.
Yeah, he wears the headband.
Was he drafted by the Pistons?
Killer question. He was not drafted by the Pistons. That's 9.
Does he have long hair?
Yeah.
Did you pick him in 2K yesterday? 2 days ago.
Did I? I think I did indeed.
Is it Kelly Olynyk?
It is. If you weren't gonna get it, my hint was Dwayne Casey said he had a man crush on him his whole career.
That's a good
look
one.
up the stats. I thought you were talking John Lure at first.
Oh, Big John.
John Lure, yeah.
Like
Absolutely stole it back from us.
My progression went from like Ersan Ilyasova to like Charlie Villanueva. And I thought it was Luke when we were just at one question, but all right, we're sticking to one round against that Piston. You guys got any other notes on season previews before we wrap up the guard section of the season preview pod?
No, but I call next week's Guess That Piston.
All right, stay tuned. Gabe already has someone a week in advance.
Josh Hilton.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening or watching this episode of the Buffs On podcast. We really enjoy making these podcasts for you guys. So please make sure to like, follow, and subscribe. And throw the Buffs on, Detroit. The future is bright.